the Blackmagic PYXIS 6K. Who's it for? Who's it not? So, if you don't know, Blackmagic recently released a new box style camera that is a successor to the Pocket Cinema line. I've been using the Pocket 4K for since 2019, and I recently got the 6K Pro, and I've got my thoughts on that. My feeling about the PYXIS is, yeah, we've been waiting for this, and everyone's been talking about a box camera coming out. I don't personally need a box camera. I've actually gotten used to using the ergonomics of the 4K and the 6K Pro. Um, it looks awesome. It's not for me. I even found that upgrading to the 6K Pro, I'm not even entirely sold on that. For my needs, and I do a lot of narrative stuff, I do a lot of narrative cinematography, commercials, weddings. The 4K has actually been the best camera I've ever used, ever. And if you're looking for a great cinema camera, I still highly recommend the Pocket 4K. You cannot do better in terms of value and quality. It is the perfect melding of the two. And I also think that the 4K has things over the 6K Pro and the full frame 6K open gate, whatever thing. You know, it has things over those that in terms of like frame rate, especially if you're doing weddings, and there's some trade-offs with the 6K cameras for performance. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that it's the same sensor, basically. It's the same image. And yeah, okay, full frame, who cares? I, at the end of the day, what matters is the frame. What's between, the four corners, The only difference between, micro four thirds and super 35 and full frame is, yeah, you have a bigger sensor, so you're getting much better bokeh, you're getting more shallow depth of field. I'm at a point now where I actually will shoot at for interiors f 2.8 to f 5.6, or if it's exteriors I'll shoot to like at f 8. And that's because that's what the human eye sees things at. Citizen Kane, there's a lot of deep depth of field shots, and also Roger Deakins, he'll shoot the f stops that I was mentioning. That's kind of where I got it from, and the whole reason is that's what the human eye sees things at generally. It's if you're inside, it's f 2.8 to f 5.6, and outside it's f 8. Yeah, it looks cool, and I'm a big fan of Nolan films, and there's a lot of shallow depth of field in Nolan films. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's one of those things that I can easily trade off and just focus on the story. What is the story I'm telling? No one's going to care the shallow depth of field. I think the thing about the 4K it trumps the 6K. And I don't know about the full frame. I haven't used the full frame, but the thing that trumps about the 6K is it actually has an extra stop or so of low light when I use like the speed booster, and that makes a big difference. That means I'm using less energy with my lights. I'm using less light output. The one thing that kind of disappoints me, I was hoping for I've been hoping since 2019 to upgrade my cameras. Ever since I started using a 4K, I've wanted I've wanted something new. Now, I probably should have opened with this. I might open it with this, or I'll put it here. My reel. This is stuff I've shot. This is just to give you some credibility of what I'm talking about. But I've shot so much over the last few years, starting since 2019 for myself, for other people, and the more I've shot things, the less I've felt like I need new equipment. Then again, last year I upgraded to the 6K Pro, and it was a mistake. Like I kind of feel like I didn't need a new camera. I should have just stuck with the cameras I've been using. Now I'm trying to let it grow on me, and I'm kind of like lately thinking, Do I want to go back? The only reason I'm on the 6K Pro is because I've already finally got it all rigged up so that it works well. Yes, I'm able to punch in. I'm able to do a lot more in terms of resolution. I don't have to deal with the modifier, the speed booster, putting a cheap piece of glass between the camera sensor and a cinema lens, making the cinema lens kind of redundant that you're spending all that money for that quality, because you can see the little smudginess of the image, but who cares? I don't mind imperfection at this point. I actually, the more I go forward, the more I really dig imperfection. And if I were to start over, I would not have bought the 6K Pro. I would just stuck with the 4Ks. And honestly, I would have got probably the Mikey S35 Cinema Glass, which is what I'm using now for the 6K. I'm shooting right now on the 4K with a Sigma glass, but I really like the Mikey S35, and I might have just got the 25 millimeter lens. Now I do like the 25 millimeter lens focal length on the 6K Pro versus the 4K. It's kind of a little wider on the 4K. I like the range of the 28 millimeters that I'm used to when I'm using like a Sigma 30, like 18 to 35 millimeter lens. I got used to the 28 millimeters focal length on that lens, and I would just stick to that for all my narrative films. Like that is the focal length that it just feels like a movie. It just feels right. It just feels I like finding a baseline. I like finding something that I can stick to that is consistent. And when I want to break or do something different, I can break from that baseline and say something. But usually people don't even notice. Sometimes you just have to do it for logistical reasons. Like I have to get the camera wider for this shot because the actor's so close and I have a wall behind me or something. There's a million reasons to change lenses, but I like limiting yourself to what works, and a 28 millimeter focal length with the 18 to 35 Sigma on a 4K, that is a really good focal length to train yourself to stick to, because it just looks, that just looks, it's wide enough and it's not too narrow. You get a good geography of the scene. You get a sense of, faces look good. It just works, and it's good for wide shots. It's good for close-ups. It's great. This is, I'm going on tangents. The PYXIS, the one thing that would have made me buy it tomorrow was if it was higher dynamic range or if it was a different sensor. It's the same sensor as, and it's the same image as far as I'm concerned. And like what I was saying, what's between the four corners? Yes, it's the same as it's the full frame Pocket 6K, or what is it, the Cinema Camera 6K full frame sensor, but in the box style. It's just a box, man. I'm used to the the 4K and the 6K Pro now. Um, the only thing that'll make me move to a different camera is if Blackmagic puts more dynamic range. Now, the reason for that is most of my work, a lot of the what would change the game for me is having more latitude between the shadows and highlights. A lot of what I do when it comes to shooting like narrative work is I'm lighting things to bring up the shadows so that I'm still getting the detail I want in the shadows, and I'm also getting, like, I'm not blowing out the highlights. I don't ever want to blow out and clip my highlights, really. That would make my life easier there. Uh, I worked on a project where they were shooting like with a red camera, and I color graded that project, and I really liked the latitude that camera had, but the it made me kind of uh jealous of it, or envious. But nah, that would be the thing that would make me move, but I don't need to. Now the Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12 and 17K, that looks interesting. It's a 16 stops the dynamic range versus 13 on the pocket cameras and the new PYXIS. That looks interesting, but it's way out of my price range. Honestly, if I think what matters for me is I'm sticking with the cameras I got. I should have just stuck with the 4K. Like, I think the Pocket 4K is such a beast, in terms of what matters. Now, at the end of the day, if you have a good camera, use it. That's what matters. If you like the camera, if you like the image it creates, if you like the process of using it, that matters more than anything. And I make this video because I'm so sick of this culture of, well, it's a business, you know, and it works when you have keywords like the Blackmagic PYXIS, which I'm taking advantage of right now. I'm making the title Blackmagic PYXIS, who's it for, who's it not, just because I want to see if YouTube will pump this video out. I'm just starting this channel up, and I'm getting 0 views on videos where it's like, it's actually about philosophical, creative stuff, you know, things that are actually useful. I made a video about how I think a filmmaker can actually make money using YouTube to distribute their film and get it to a wide audience. I make videos about real world issues, but I know that they're not what's going to get me clicks at first, because that's not what people click on YouTube. I clicked on a bunch of videos about the Blackmagic PYXIS, and then YouTube started sending me that. I don't know what, you know, what it will take for YouTube to start sending my content out to people, but you know, I mean, I'm patient. I'll see how it goes. But I wanted to start doing videos like this to kind of see, you know, how it goes. But I wanted to take the spin on this of find the camera that works for you. I did a video, filmmaking equipment I recommend, and basically that's what the premise is it's not about the equipment, it's about using it. In 2019, I got the Pocket 4K, and immediately I was thinking, oh, when am I going to upgrade? When am I going to upgrade? For 5 years, and it's still, we're still on 5 years that there's not been a camera that really has trumped the 4K, the Pocket 4K, in terms of what it does and how it works for me. There's not a camera on the market right now that, in the price range. I mean, the only camera that would be an upgrade from me, in my view, would be an Arri Alexa 35. That would be the, and yes, like ridiculous comparison in terms of value. Yes, but I don't have millions of dollars for that to be a reasonable investment. No, I don't. So I'm good with the 4K, or 6K Pro. But yeah, this PYXIS, everyone's going crazy about the Blackmagic. It's just, yeah, it's just marketing. But it's, you know, I don't see anything new. The box camera style, the box style ergonomics, if that's what you're looking for, great. And the price range is pretty good. I mean, if I didn't get the 6K Pro, I probably would have invested in the PYXIS. But I just, I mean, I'm used to the ergonomics on these cameras now. I like having the screen right in front of me and not having to like add an external monitor. But really, at the end of the day, it's like there's no reason for me to invest because I don't see a new sensor. The moment they have more dynamic range is when, or including low light, that'd be cool. Like more low light and dynamic range, that would be awesome. I don't care if it's in a box. I don't care if it's in these ergonomics. Whichever works best for Blackmagic, but dynamic range is what I'm waiting out for. You know, I hope that they bring more of that, more dynamic range to these smaller, more affordable cameras. But yeah, I think if you feel you need the upgrade, I'm not going to convince you yes or no on that. You know what you're looking for. But I would ask that you think about in terms of, are you putting in the reps? Are you, you know, getting the best camera that works for you and then going out and shooting stuff with it? Because that's what is going to make your stuff look better. Camera's not going to make it look better. It's the same sensor. Your stuff's going to look the same on the PYXIS versus the 4K versus the 6K. And I tell you, I've lined up the 6K Pro and the 4K, and it bothers the crap out of me that, like, I did lens tests and everything with it. Really couldn't tell the difference. I mean, yes, there's a sharpness on the 6K that you don't get with the 4K, and that's the reason I'm using it. I'm gaslighting myself into using the camera that I already gaslit myself into buying, because I thought that it would make my work better, and it doesn't. It really doesn't. I would just get the cheapest equipment that works for your needs, use the crap out of it, be rough with it, or within reason, know that you can, if it's cheap enough, you can buy new versions if you need to, if it breaks or whatever. I've been using the 4Ks forever. I haven't had a single one break on me, and so far, and I'm gonna knock on wood after this, but yeah, no, I think have I answered the question of who's it for, who's it not? Who's it for? Uh, if you are a fan of the Blackmagics, if you have the money and you really need a different ergonomics, great. If if that is, but that's a convenience thing. It's literally convenience. It's not a necessity. If you can't get over ergonomics of a camera like the 4K or the 6K, which is fine, if you can't get over that ergonomics, you're not thinking creatively enough about the ergonomics. I've actually gotten to a point where I really like the ergonomics the way they are, and I don't know if I'd like a box camera because I like to have the camera right in my face with the big screen there. I like holding it like this. And I have different rigs and stuff that supports and stabilizes it in this position. Like I'll use an easy rig, or I'll use like something that presses it against my forehead or something. I like this style of filming. Um, I don't know if I'd want to risk an investment into a different style of filming, because at the end of the day, it's not the camera and equipment that is going to make my work right. It's going to be the process that I've developed over the last 5 years of shooting with the same camera. That's why you put your reps in, and that's why you stick with the same camera, because you can actually do much better work with the same camera. Because like I at this point, I had to like change the settings on the 6K Pro to get the screen brightness exactly what the 4K is, because I know instinctively how the exposure is going to be just looking at the screen, whether it's in sunlight or indoors on the 4K, just from doing it so much, shooting stuff with it, coming into post and looking at it and color grading it repeatedly over and over again. I really like having that sixth sense of whether I've got it or whether I don't, or how's this going to look? Is it going to look right? Is it going to, my gut tells me just from looking at the screen at this point, because I've shot with it so much. You should value that over valuing new equipment, because getting new equipment or hearing about new gear is just a dopamine rush. It's an addiction. G.A.S, gear acquisition syndrome. It's getting a new camera is the equivalent of starting a new relationship thinking that that person, that new partner, is going to solve all your problems, and then when you realize that they're not the answer to your problems, you blame them as the source of your problems. It's going to be no different with your camera. You're going to say, oh, this is the solution to all my problems, and then you're going to be like, oh, I hate this camera. And that's what runs YouTube filmmaking videos. People making clickbaity titles about, oh, I'm selling this camera. This is why I'm not getting this. This is why I'm getting this camera. This is why I upgraded this camera. Who cares? What have you shot with it? Show me that. Then you'll get my attention. I hope that this is a really offbeat video. If you enjoyed this or found this useful, I hope I answered the question that I posed at the beginning. But yeah, I appreciate you watching. I do videos that I try to separate myself with. I try to make videos about process over, what I think everyone, or a process or story over equipment. But then again, I do stuff about equipment here and there because it is part of it. But I try to bring a philosophy to the craft of making art and filmmaking, and so hopefully there's a need for that and people like that. But if you do, you can support my channel by hitting like, subscribe, hitting the notification bell so you don't miss a future video, and leaving a comment. I want to make this into a discussion about filmmaking and all sorts of things that I talk about, and creativity. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I'd love to respond and keep the discussion going. But anyway, have a good one. Thanks.